George?
We're live. I don't see it popping up on the...
Hello, folks.
Okay. Hello, folks. It's the Podsquad with Pat Drake, Wendy Card, and yours truly, George Oliver. Thank you for joining us for New Bern Now's podcast for October 15th, 2020. We are on episode 161.
Woo!
And we're connecting you with people, places, and lots of happenings in New Bern and the surrounding areas. We have a great lineup of guests, and we hope you join in the conversation.
And before we get started, we have a contest as always. And if you know the answer to the question, the contest, enter it in the comment section on this video. And if you guess during the show, then you'll be entered to win if there's more than 2 people. But if you're the outright winner, you win. And the question is, okay, Pod Squad, you guys can't answer.
Wait, and Wendy, they have to do this on the newbernnow.com Facebook.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yes. Thank you, George.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What head of state was a military truck driver and mechanic during World War II?
I have a clarifying question. Is this a current head of state?
Yes.
So somebody's head of state right now was a military truck driver in World War II.
You're bringing out the lawyer and
Repeat the question.
Answer the question, Wendy.
That, I think that makes it easier for people, but hey, there's still a lot of heads of state that, now
right.
they weren't a head of state back during World War II.
Oh, okay,
They
right.
were a military truck driver and mechanic.
So they worked their way up a bit in ranks,
Yes.
from military truck driver all the way to the head of state. Wow, that's pretty impressive. I have no idea who that might be.
But if you do know, if you're watching this or listening, comment on our Facebook page. And so that's the question. I try to keep it more serious this time. So Pat, what are you working on?
Well, I'm actually working on a report on the membership and programs going on at our YMCA. I'm on their board, as you guys know, and I chair that committee. So I've got a report that I've got to finish and get to them by this afternoon. So that's part of what I'm working on, and hope to maybe tackle early voting. Hope to maybe get that accomplished this afternoon as well.
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, early voting started today and it runs through Halloween. So yeah, and so much for retirement, right, Pat? You're doing reports?
Oh yeah, well,
That's right. And if you listened last week, Pat talked about the putting the bubble on the pool at the Y. And on her Facebook page, you can see a video. You say it's time lapse, right? So you can see how that process.
Time lapse video.
Very cool. I'm gonna check that out.
Very cool. And George, what are you doing? What are you working on?
What do we got going on? We did the Improv-a-thon with Walk-In Bathtub at New Bern Civic Theater this past Saturday. 8 hours of shows. Each show was 45 minutes long with 15 minutes of cleaning in between, 4 to midnight. Had a great turnout. The crowd had a really good time. 25 people each show per the Phase 3 governor's order. And all of our performers wore masks on stage. We had a no touching policy. So we were social distance as much as you can on a stage. And our chairs on the back line were all spread out 6 feet apart. The only time we took masks off is if we were not in a particular game. We'd take the mask off and drink some water and then put it back on. But it was really a good time. It was nice to be back in the theater. And also really good to be able to support New Bern Civic Theater with fundraising efforts. We are in the final 2 days of a Mighty Cause Challenge Community Thrives fundraising event by Gannett Corp. And right now, New Bern Civic Theater is 12th in the country in our tier. There are 572 different nonprofits around the country, and we're number 12. And so trying to do one little more push. If anybody feels led to give, please go to the newberncivictheater.org webpage. It'll take you to the portal. Right now, I think we are leading in North Carolina. Looking at the ones that are above us, I don't think any of those North Carolina nonprofits. So great job to Angelina Doyle and the people that have supported the theater. Please, it's not over yet. 2 more days. Give if you can. Really cool.
Awesome.
How was the attendance, George? Did you have as many as you could accommodate?
No, not for every hour. And I think that's because you had kind of weird times for improv, maybe. Usually our shows are 7:30 to around 10. And so of the 200 seats that we could get in 8 shows at 25 each, I want to say we had maybe 175. So didn't sell out all of them. I think the smallest audience was maybe 8. But they were a great crowd. That was what was so much fun. The people that were there were all spread out around the theater and engaged and laughing and giving us great suggestions. So we were able to feed off that energy and provide good shows for them. And of course, with improv, every show is different. We had some people come to multiple shows. So they got different shows every time, and really a lot of fun. I think we'll do it again. It kind of depends on what the order, if the governor changes things. I think he's supposed to speak today, maybe at 2, and maybe we'll get some more guidance. But we thought about maybe tweaking the format, making the shows a little longer, maybe more of a 30-minute break between, because that was the tricky part. So like when you're there from 4 to midnight, you got to think, what am I going to do for dinner? And we ordered Domino's, and I told the Domino's lady, I said, listen, you really need to be here at 6:45. If you're here early, I can't open the door and get the pizza because I'm on stage. If you come here much later, I got to start another show and we won't be able to eat it. And they got there right at 6:45. Wow. It was Papa John's. And we ate pizza real quick, then got back on stage. Our friend Austin Arrington, who's in the group, he started Night Owl Coffee. He's selling coffee in front of Baxter's after hours. And he brought these 2 huge things of fresh coffee, and we drank coffee from 4 to midnight. And that helped keep us running. So it was really fun, really fun.
8 hours of improv. Wow.
8 hours of improv. I know. Exactly. And
how's Oliver and Cheek doing? If
Oliver
you
Cheek's
don't know, George is the partner of Oliver and Cheek with Clayton Cheek, and your law offices are downtown in the beautiful downtown New Bern. So tell us about your business, your clients.
Well, we do all sorts of business matters. A lot of what we do is help people that are in financial distress. So we might help them work out a financial situation with lenders or file bankruptcy if they need to, reorganizations for small businesses and individuals. So we do all chapters of bankruptcy, but we also do any kind of legal matter involving a business. So sometimes that's a lawsuit, you've been sued, or you need to sue, or it's starting a business or shutting one down, or trusts, wills, estates, employment law, all that kind of stuff. That's what we do. So we've been busy, and it's interesting to see how the courts change with COVID. So next week, I have 2 hearings in bankruptcy courts that are not in North Carolina. I've got one in the DC bankruptcy court and one in Maryland. And
Wow.
I have local counsel to help there, but it'll be by Zoom. And so ordinarily I would have to travel up there, but the courts are so flexible about that sort of thing now. I don't think they want us traveling, and I don't think they want us crowding into a courtroom. So it is interesting to do things that way. And with our customers here, our clients, we're happy to meet people in person, masked up. You know, we have, usually we'll meet with them outside. We have an outdoor deck area upstairs, and especially days like today, they're so gorgeous. You can go out there. We have a conference room table set up, and we can sit distance from each other with fresh air coming through. And so it's been good. We also do a lot of things through Zoom and phone calls with people that don't want to be seen in person, understandably so. So it's different, but it's, you know, you just adjust, I guess, because people still need help. So you got to figure out ways to do it.
And you know how to adjust, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. Improv.
Yeah, every day is improv, right?
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why they call it the practice of law, Pat. I mean, it's never really right.
You're still practicing.
Yeah, still practicing. That's right.
So let's consider our life right now just improv, you know, no new normal or
That's a
anything like
way to
that,
look
just improv.
the rules that we followed on certain things for a long time, maybe most of your life, aren't the same, but we've got to adjust, and we got to figure out a way to keep getting things done that need to be done, right? I mean, everybody does.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
reinvent yourself several times during your lifetime.
Yeah, you do, don't you? And I've always told my kids, especially, you can't define yourself by your job, because you only have so much control over whether you keep that job, or whether something happens, you lose that job. And so you want your identity, you want it to be kind of tied up in the things that you're passionate about, which can be your job, and the people that you care about, and the things that, that make you happy or fulfilled. So, yeah, I think we all need to keep that in mind, because things are different. Things are changing, and really we don't have so much control over that ordinarily, but certainly this year. This year, everybody's just got to adapt.
Yeah. That's a good point, George, because I didn't realize that until after I retired from the Navy. Every day, I knew what uniform I was going to wear. I knew, what my duties were and who I reported to. And, so it was like Groundhog Day every day, but in a different scenario.
Yeah.
And when I retired, I was so lost. I think I was probably lost for about 2 years, where no one told me what to do. And it's something that, they talked about during the military transition to
Right.
civilian life. But, for those out there who are retiring or getting out of the military, it's a totally different kind of struggle, because, it's just very, very bizarre. And there's resources in our community that can help you. Please contact the Craven County Veterans Council, or the VFW, or the DAV. There's so many different military organizations that are there just to even talk, and I really wasn't aware of that until 2 years after I had retired. So they're great resources if they're out there. So,
Well, and Wendy, you're an example of somebody who has adapted and reinvented yourself, because what you're doing now has nothing to do with your military training, right?
yeah,
You just kind of saw a need and filled a need in New Bern. So
just
that's
winging it. Yeah,
Yeah,
winging it.
adapt, and yeah, a lot of people care about what you share, and the stories that you tell, and it's a good thing for New Bern. I Along those lines, I don't want to get on too much on the soapbox, but I had kind of an epiphany today about the Sun Journal, and I realized that we did not subscribe to it, and I just didn't sit right with me. We have a local daily paper here. Papers are struggling all over the country, and we are a downtown business. I'm active in nonprofits and arts groups around here, and Sun Journal, Charlie Hall, Chris Siegel, those guys support those groups, and they give publicity, things like we did with the Improvathon. They ran a front page story for us on Thursday to help get the word out, not just about that silly improv thing, but the fundraising efforts. And I just started thinking, why don't I support them when all they do is support people around here and run the stories that people care about? And some people complain about local papers, but if you don't subscribe, if you're not helping to support it, then it's kind of hard for you to complain about it. You should take the good for what it is. And we're lucky to have that paper. So anyway, today I went to our office manager. I said, I want to subscribe. I can't believe we don't. It just never occurred to me. So I'm kind of on a soapbox. Support your local paper, because your local paper supports you. Really, it supports our community, and it's important.
I agree 100%, George. I've always subscribed to it from when I moved here 26 years ago, and I still pore over it as much as I did when I was new to our community. I like to see it, and it shows me so much of what's going on in town, even though maybe not in a news article. It might be an ad. It might be the Friends of the Sun, so I can see a nonprofit, doing a yard sale, or having before COVID, a pancake breakfast or something, different things of what's going on in our community, so I usually pour over. It's interesting. My husband that's what he went to school for, is journalism, and he worked for the Sun
My wife
Journal
too.
briefly,
Yeah.
and also the Pamlico News over the years. And he goes straight to editorials and opinions, and I like the comics the best. That's the first thing I grab. the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's so true. When I did retire and I was searching what I was going to do for the next chapter in my life, I was reading that in 10 years or so, newspapers are, the print was going to be dead. Now, I don't believe that. I believe that there's still a couple generations that really like that hard copy,
Yeah.
But that's why I created New Bern Now, is to fill that kind of gap between the newspaper where, I mean, there's only a handful of reporters left, Charlie and Bill.
Right.
Tina Atkins helps a lot too.
Yeah. So they're the heartbeat. And with New Bern Now, people send me articles and stories, and it may not be newsworthy to the Sun Journal because they're very limited with space. But I have the capability of putting anything online that is within our core values as far as promoting and, upbeat stories.
Right.
So, and then the New Bern Post, Randy, who used to be with the Sun Journal, he does, a lot of investigative reporting. So I sure hope the Sun Journal doesn't go away anytime soon. But that is a real tough, they're going through a hard time because, the Gannett Corporation, they bought these newspapers because truly a local paper can't be self-sustainable with all this social media and everything. So, and Gannett is doing a great job with that community fundraiser.
Oh, they really are. And Sun Journal, good job online with their Facebook. You can see all the information on there and share it. It's really good. My wife, Dare, got a journalism degree from Chapel Hill and photojournalism. And she worked for a newspaper in Burlington for a while when I was in law school and a little bit after. And that business model has changed a lot. They were a huge staff, and I think they've shrunk down as well. I think they were owned by Freedom for a while, which was the same group that maybe used to own Sun Journal.
Right.
And before they sold to Gannett, I guess, I'm not really sure.
Well, and then Gatehouse and then Gannett.
Oh, Gate. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But Megan Johnson has just commented on Facebook here. She said, my program would not have thrived and grown without the Sun Journal. And she's the adult enrichment coordinator at Craven Community College. But she says, a very large portion of my demographic reads the paper daily. Karen Davis Gardner has been my ad contact lady, and she is the best, so good at what she does, and an amazing soul. So thank you for that, Megan. But you hear stories like that all over. I mean, local paper does a lot for a community, and we just need to. I mean, I found out it's only $20 a month to get the online and the print 7 days a week. You can do online only for like $5 a month, and some of these you're starting for like $1 a month, introductory things like that. And so, I mean, really, it's just a matter of just recognizing the value that it has and making sure that it can sustain itself.
Yep. And I just realized what time it was. We're running late.
Oh.
We have
we have
not get off that soapbox, George. I'm joking. This is your soapbox. And we have Zeb, and Zeb, is it Hough with RCS. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your name, Zeb. He's coming in, and Tova, please be patient. Let's see, where are we at here? Whoops. Sorry, Zeb, I just stopped your video. Can you start it again? There you are.
Hello.
Zeb, how do you pronounce your last name?
My last name is Hough.
Hough.
And that was not the worst pronunciation I've ever heard. So you're far from butchering.
Well, it's so nice to finally meet you. We've been playing, the phone tag for a while
Email
now.
tag, yes, exactly. It's good to be on. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And you're the new executive director, new-ish, with the last couple months with Religious Community Services, and you're also a local Western New Yorker. You
Absolutely.
Migrated here.
In the house.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
So you want to tell us what you're working on? What, I know you're working a lot of things, but what do you want the community to know about right now?
Absolutely. I mean, well, you guys have already touched on the Gannett Group and the Community Thrives fundraising event. Absolutely. We want everyone to know it's the last day. I was listening earlier when, is it Greg?
George.
George, sorry.
Yeah.
George was talking about standings. I had to go check our standings. We're number 73 in our tier. So
In the country.
yeah, in the country. So
That's great. We need to get them up. We need to get that standing up. So
And you need to do it today. Today's the day.
absolutely, it needs to happen. It needs to happen today.
Yeah.
But the project that we're raising money for is not just RCS, the shelter, the community kitchen, or the pantry, as everyone knows them. Really, what COVID has taught us as an organization is there are so many individuals who are needing our assistance but can't get to us. And so since March, we've been really working on how do we get services, how do we get programs out to rural and underserved areas. And so we've done a little research, we've tested things, we've piloted things several times now. We've loaded up the box truck and just headed out to Ernle and Vanceboro and Pamlico County, Jones County, just to figure out who's out there and who can we partner with. And so this initiative is all about partnering with existing organizations, bringing resources that we have on George Street out to these to these areas that are underserved, so that they have the same services and programs available to them that people here in New Bern have at their disposal. It's all about increasing capacity, making sure that more people are seen and more people are helped and more people are empowered for permanent life change, which is really what we're all about at RCS.
Zeb, how long have you been the new executive director there?
Absolutely. I've been, technically, I've been the new executive director since June 1st of this year. Although I spent my first 30 days, the first 30 days of my tenure in Rochester, learning all that I could learn about religious community services, spending time on platforms such as Zoom, meeting with my team and my staff, so that when I got here on July 3rd, I could hit the ground running. The best story I have is on July 3rd, I had all of these things I wanted to accomplish. And I realized that in North Carolina, July 3rd is as much a holiday as July 4th. So I was all raring to go and everybody else was like, it's the holiday. What are you waiting? What are you trying to do? But yeah, it's been fantastic.
And Zeb, tell us a little bit about your growing up and how you have become part of, well, you were with the Salvation Army prior to this.
Yeah.
How you've embraced the nonprofit sector.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I grew up in a very, very poor home. Both my parents disabled. We were on public assistance. I ate government cheese that everybody else talks about. It doesn't melt as well as they say it does. But that was just my reality growing up. And really, the story that was written for me before I was even born was that I would be raised poor, that I would grow up poor, that I would drop out of school, that I would get into trouble, that I would go to jail, and that eventually I would have kids and the cycle would just repeat itself. I was exposed to before age 7, I was exposed to sexual assault, drug and alcohol abuse, and I knew most of the police department by name because they were my uncles and aunts. It was Uncle Tony coming over to see Kelvin again, and like that was just reality. We were a frequent stop for local PD until One night, a tall guy, he was 6'7", tallest guy I ever seen in my life at age 7. His name was Roger. He knocked on my door. He had a basketball and he asked me if I wanted to play basketball. He was from the local Salvation Army. He brought me up to play basketball, and that's where my story really started to change, because through the Salvation Army's program, a basketball program, I got to meet a case manager who helped me get shoes, who made sure that I was getting homework tutoring, and made sure that education was put first in my path. I'm happy to say that out of 15 brothers and sisters, 4 of us now have gone on to complete college degrees, and I am the first in my family on either side to obtain my master's my master's degree. I think I was 25 working for Veteran Affairs when I realized that this little side part-time job that I was doing with the Salvation Army was actually was more important to me than the work I was doing in clinical crisis counseling. I just felt like I had been plucked from the grasp of poverty, and I had the ability to partner with an organization like the Salvation Army and do that for other people. And so I walked into my boss's office and I sort of said, I'd like to quit my job at the VA and work for you guys full time. Can you hire me? And he goes, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I would like to save people's lives because someone saved mine. And that was my social work start. I started there. I've never looked back. I've never even considered doing anything else. I've been a pastor. I've worked in drug and alcohol recovery, but always my heart has always been to just help people. And it comes from a place of when I see the guests and the clients that we interact with on a daily basis, those aren't just strangers to me. Those people are me. They are very easily who I could have become if Roger didn't knock on my door that night. So that's why I do what I do. That's where I come from. And really, I tell people I was put on this earth to help people. And I believe that with every fiber of my being.
Wow.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Pat.
No, very well said, and for sure. That's quite a journey.
Well, and it shows through your work and your passion, for RCS, not being here for very long. You've already not made a name for yourself or anything like that, but your reputation has gone beyond, a little area of town. I'm not sure if you know that, but I've heard your name quite a few times in a very positive way, because people really appreciate everything that you are doing. And I'm sure you have plenty that you're planning on doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you also were, wasn't it the veterans, did you create a veteran shelter? Was that?
Well, actually, I didn't create it. I can't take credit for that. But what happened is in 2017, we started a capital campaign as RCS, and we built this magnificent facility. And when I got here, it was kind of empty. And I said, we have to create safe ways to fill this place, because we have a fantastic facility. And so one of the first things we did in the first 60 days I was here throughout June and July is just really put in place safeguards so that we can open up our essential services safely and serve people. Because if RCS isn't serving people, then RCS doesn't need to be there. And so when I said that to the staff, I mean, I tell you, I've never felt so supported by any group of people. I have 16 people on my staff at RCS, and every one of them were on board with opening up services and keeping things going. So the emergency crisis service, the emergency crisis shelter was the first one we opened up. We opened up to 25% capacity, and we succeeded. We succeeded at making sure that we didn't have any COVID cases. So we did that for about 2 weeks, and then we opened up our family side of the shelter, and we've been open for about 3 months now with the family side. And then just recently we cut the ribbon for our veteran side, which I was a part of putting the final touches on. And I'm happy to report that we're case managing 6 veterans as of today, and we have 2 veterans living with us at the shelter. We can no longer brag that we haven't been touched by COVID, because we have had 3 confirmed cases of COVID. But with our protocols, I'm happy to report that no staff have suffered a negative test, and we've been able to, in partnership with Craven County Health Department, been able to quickly and safely get those individuals who have tested positive into a secure quarantine space where they can receive the treatment necessary and get back to putting their lives together. So it's been a great journey. Our venture into working with veterans. I'll tell you a quick story. I didn't realize how substantial these services were until about 3 days ago. So 3 days ago, I come into the office, and anyone who's ever been in leadership understands this feeling where you have 100 things to do and you're late for about 75 of them already. And so I'm zooming in to get the put down a packet of papers and pick up the next packet of papers that I have to get going. And one of our veterans was coming in, and at that precise moment, our director of client services came out, and it was this sort of meeting in the parking lot, and she called me in. I had no time to spare, but something just said, go in. The individual that we were working with has been out of the armed services for 2 decades now. And in his wandering and in his homelessness, he lost his DD-214. And as you know, that's a pretty substantial piece of paper. And so he came to the shelter, and for the first time in 2 decades, held in his hand 3 days ago his DD-214. He looked down at this paper as he's reading his service record, and he starts to cry, and he says, "This is my whole identity. I haven't had an identity in 20 years. Thank you so much." His case management services. And honestly, guys, it wasn't like a lot of work. He just needed someone to sit down, make a few phone calls, put together an email, and catch something in certified mail. And he's holding his identity in his hands for the first time in 20 years. And I just walked away, still late for all 100 things that I had to get done that day. But I walked away knowing that the work that we do is substantial, it's necessary, and it's essential. So, I mean, it's been a blast to kind of dip our toe in the waters of veteran relations. And I will say, as an aside, this community just has marvelous resources. And if our veterans just had a bridge to those resources, life would look a whole lot different for a lot of them. And so that's what we seek to be at RCS, that bridge to services.
Well, I know you made his whole life turn, right side up. It just, that's fantastic. What a great story.
It's amazing what a piece of paper will do, but
yeah, it's unreal. So, well, Zeb, we really appreciate you taking time today. We're a little behind on our guests, but we hope you come back and join us soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. I really do appreciate it.
Great to see you, Zeb.
Good to see you too.
One more thing, if people want to find out more, they visit RCS. Go ahead.
Yes, I should know this. It's rcs.com. Really, if you just put that in there, but honestly, give us a call, 633-2767. We're happy anytime to take folks for a tour, to talk about what we do. We have a whole team, and they love working with people. So give us a call sometime.
All right. Well, thank you, Zeb. Have
Thank you,
a
Zeb.
great day. Thank you.
God bless you. Bye now.
Okay. All right. Wow, that was a lot of information. Great information. What a story. It just,
Yes, inspiring.
yes, very inspiring. And
We were talking about reinventing ourselves, right?
yeah,
Right.
definitely.
How lucky we are in New Bern to have Zeb find us here from
Oh,
up
amazing.
in New York at Salvation Army. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. And I'm going to repeat the question in case you missed it. So if you hear this, comment, if you know the answer, what head of state was a military truck driver and mechanic during World War II? They weren't head of state at the time, but now they are. So,
Cool.
Okay.
Good. Just a second to some comments online.
Okay.
Mickey Miller, the head of the New Bern Historical Society here. She says, New Bern Sun Journal is a tremendous community supporter. They generously support so many New Bern nonprofits with coverage that we could not otherwise afford. Despite years of corporate management and changes, they have managed to keep their focus on the community that they serve so well. Yeah, very nice.
Thanks, Mickey.
That's right.
Talina says, hi, Wendy and crew. We miss you, Talina. Hopefully you'll be back soon. Okay, you ready for Tova? Tova,
Sure.
Are you ready for us? Let's see. Bring her into the room. There she is.
I am ready. How are you?
Good. We have Tova Hairston she's the executive director for the Coastal Women's Shelter. And it's great seeing your smiling face as always.
Likewise. How you doing, Wendy, Mac, George? I hope you're well.
Yeah, hope you are too.
Awesome. I am. Thank you.
And you have quite a lot of stuff going on at the Coastal Women's Shelter, but this month is the domestic violence month, isn't it? Domestic. I got
You
it
got
wrong.
it. It's there.
Help me.
It's there.
Domestic Violence Prevention Month. Is that correct?
Our awareness,
Close.
but certainly prevention is a cornerstone of prevention work as well. So, and awareness efforts. So yeah, this is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month across the country. And for us as a domestic violence agency, it's a really special time of year because this is our time to really, call our community to help us not only mourn those that have lost their lives to domestic violence, but celebrate the tremendous efforts and strength of survivors that have been able to escape those situations, and as professionals and advocates and stakeholders in this work, really motivate and encourage one another to stay committed to the fight, because we know that it's not the easiest thing to do. And so certainly that motivation and encouragement is vitally important for us to continue towards our mission. So here we are.
Yeah. All right. And what is the number one thing? What is that?
So the One Thing campaign, so it is a part of our efforts as an agency to really be creative and strategic about our approach to celebrations this month. Every October is really special for that purpose, but this one has, this particular October has presented some challenges with COVID and some of the opportunities and kind of routine activities that we line up each October to increase that level of visibility and awareness. There are outreach activities like Mom Fest and Chili Fest that just are not options this year. And so how do we still make that same connection? How do we still make sure that our messaging this year is still as loud and clear and consistent as it has been? And so we decided, why not use the methods and technology that is available to us, and let's go virtual. And so what we've designed this year is really a way to increase that outreach, the breadth of our outreach and the scope of the folks that we touch through virtual activities. the One Thing campaign is something that we've decided to do as an agency to not only help folks stand with us to end domestic violence, but to really take a step back and move social justice forward. Because we as an agency understand that domestic violence is simply a symptom of a lot of the social ills that are happening, right? When you talk about gender discrimination and you talk about the pay gap, this is indicative of a much bigger problem outside of verbal and mental abuse in a home, right? So we have designed the One Thing campaign to really help folks think simply about what real change can be and pledge or commit to one simple action that they can do to, again, not just in domestic violence, but also move that social equity agenda forward for all, and realizing that if we all can commit to one action, that is real social change. That's when the wheel starts to turn, and that's when we see, I think, more equity for all. But certainly our focus is to increase that efficacy, equity, so that it kind of balances the scale for victims of domestic violence, who we know 75% of whom are females and women.
Yeah, so true.
So that's kind of the biggest piece of one of the things that we're doing this month, but we also wanted to make it very simple for folks to support us and stand with us and show their solidarity. So we've got a couple of different types of activities that we're perpetuating through Facebook and other social media, and it's selfie based, right? So this is the world of the selfie. Everybody likes to kind of show what they are doing. And certainly if you're supporting a cause, being able to post and share that and encourage more participation amongst your network. So things that folks can do with us this month are to wear purple. So if you have a favorite purple shirt or purple shoes, or George, I think that you always have like this fancy collection of ties. You might have a very cool purple in there. So if you wear it this month, you know, that kind of shows that you understand, the prevalence of domestic violence in our community, but not only that, because you recognize it, you are willing to stand with this agency and our board of directors and incredibly dedicated staff towards its end. You know, we are a very small team, right? We serve Craven, Jones, and Pamlico counties, and I've got a team of, I think, 4 advocates that actually work directly with folks outside of our shelter. Last year alone, we served over 702 victims across all 3 counties.
Wow.
And if you think about those statistics, that's not every single victim across the counties. Because if you consider limited access, if you consider social stigma related to certain populations of victims coming forward, there's a very significant portion of our community that just has not been able to connect with us. So our strategy is if we can create community advocates in barbers, in teachers, in our local postmen, so folks that understand the different forms of domestic violence, how it manifests, but most importantly, if we can educate those folks about who we are and the work that we do, they can serve as safe havens within the community and conductors to connect folks with our services.
Yeah, and you said stigma, and I think that's the biggest thing. I remember I don't know if I've ever said this, but I am a victim of domestic violence when I was 19, and it's until it hits home, you know, and you don't, back then they really didn't talk about it.
Right.
But it's really important that if you know somebody, connect them with the Coastal Women's Shelter, because that's what you do, and your, you know, your expertise, and we really appreciate that. I mean, just daily, I think last time you were on, you said, you know, daily you listen to people's stories, and it just, I mean, with all the craziness in this world today,
Right.
You also are, that's an additional burden that is placed on you. And we really appreciate you taking the time to take care of those in need. So.
Oh, absolutely. I think if one thing that we as an agency have learned through the COVID pandemic is how just the the barriers for victims of violence can look so very different from the main population. You know, if you think about shelter at home orders, it's really designed to increase levels of safety for the public. But if you think about a survivor whose battlefield is the home, and this is a time in which not only are stresses high, right? Because maybe there's been income loss because of the pandemic, you're not able to leave. And if an abuser is not able to work and has to shelter in place because of those preventative guidelines, then that's more time that a victim is spending with an abuser. And including those stressors, limited ability to connect with your support systems or outside folks, the propensity and frequency of those incidents and the escalation of the violence therein is a very scary thing. And so since this pandemic happened, that's something that we saw very clearly in the stats right from mid-March to June. You know, we saw a very sharp decline in the number of crisis calls that were coming into the agency. And, you know, as a team, we chatted about it and it made more sense. You know, victims are having less opportunities to call for help because probably abusers are home more and they don't have those windows of opportunity. And so as an agency and as a team, we shifted the thinking to safety planning and harm reduction, right? If it's impossible to get a person out of a dangerous situation, how do we empower them to decrease the levels of danger in that current situation? And that has kind of been the focus now that we've progressed into the reopening plan. Our focus has shifted back. Our shelter has continued to operate since the beginning of the pandemic. You know, we are considered essential. And, you know, regardless of the risk to health that COVID presents, you know, risk of violence in the home presents, in my opinion, an even more significant risk of harm and or death. So we're here and we're committed.
Tova, a big part of your agency is raising awareness and also providing services. Can you talk a little bit about the capacity that you have at your facility for people that need to go?
Shelter.
Period. Yeah, right.
Sure.
How does that work? If somebody has that need right now,
Sure.
they call you, I guess?
Absolutely. So we have a crisis line that is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by a live coastal women's shelter. Ours is a 24-hour safe house. And so we always have staff there and they man that crisis line. That number, if anyone needs shelter around the clock, is 252-638-5995. That is also on our homepage of our website, www.coastalwomenshelter.org, as is more information about our domestic violence awareness campaigns, how folks can get involved. We've also got a very cool drawing for a prize if folks choose to participate in those activities online. So certainly our homepage is the basis for a lot of info, but if folks have more questions, specific questions about the services that we're providing, what that looks like in a COVID landscape, feel free to reach out to me. Our office number here is 252-638-4509, and folks will find me at extension 1.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you for taking the time to educate us and for all you're doing.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's always great to be here. Thank you, Wendy. So very good to see you again. And George and Matt, great to see you all as well. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank
you.
you.
Too, good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, and let's see, we have one more person, and that is Aimee Schultze. Do y'all know Aimee?
No.
She's
Nope.
with Still Waters. Let's see. She's a clinical licensed clinical social worker for Still Waters over in Bayboro, Pamlico County. And she has been joining us. And there she is. She's been joining us to give us some insight on how to manage stress and other things. So asked to unmute.
You have some fun coping strategies for us, do you?
Well, sure. I'm hearing about all these wonderful nonprofits that are coming on and talking through your show. And the great thing about nonprofits is we do offer kind of an area of entertainment, especially if we're not in the middle of a pandemic. But in lieu of all our fundraisers and balls and masquerade parties and all that we have to try and raise money, we do offer some fun things. We were doing some live auctions, and I know Tova talked about some things she's doing on Facebook and doing some giveaways and raffles and things like that. But volunteering is a great way to make yourself feel better. If you're focused on yourself all the time, you kind of get up in your head. So it's great to kind of maybe get involved with RCS. Go ahead and volunteer. If you're afraid of interacting with folks right now because of the pandemic, I know they have opportunity for things you can do at your home to help them. Same with us as far as Stillwaters and Heartworks, which is our parent company. But almost every nonprofit has an area where we can use some volunteers. And I know, the Historical Society is always looking, the History Center is always looking for some folks who would want to come out, and it could be as little as a half an hour a week or a couple hours a month, whatever you felt that you could give. So that's a great coping strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pat Drake, I'm not sure if you know Pat, but she's with the Tryon Civitan Club, and I'm sure you probably want volunteers too, or members to join.
Yeah, of course. Most of, so many nonprofits, and like other organizations too, we've seen our membership dwindle a little bit because of COVID, whether it be a senior person and high risk, and, we're doing Zoom meetings, not everybody's into Zoom, and, so our membership is dwindling, but, yeah, everybody needs help, and it is a great way then to come back and feel better about yourself, and a lot of times you might think you're helping them, but when you come back home, they've helped you more than you think you've helped them. And I think that's a lot too of what Zeb was talking about. You're reaching out to someone else and you think, well, hey, I'm really benefiting them, maybe by providing a meal or, trying to help a girlfriend, leave an abusive relationship. But it really comes back to you, and the rewards are tremendous.
Right. So if you want to help yourself, help others, right?
Very much so.
Yeah, yeah. And I know we've got some talent on this crew here, because I know, George, you're a musician and do all those kinds of things. So I'm always talking about that as well. Go ahead and pick up that instrument that you started in junior high school that you never quite got to. It's kind of funny, as an adult, you might have now the maturity to sit down and actually learn the scales and learn the notes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and if not, go on YouTube and just play along and do what you find some videos. It's amazing what you can find on YouTube. And I would say too, a couple of other fun things to do. Our area offers nature. Wendy, look at your background. Look at that. Get out on the water. Go ahead and take a walk at the beach. Go ahead and take a walk around. A lot of our neighborhoods here are very walkable. So go ahead and do that. Every day, I promise, if you get out and take even a small walk, you will feel better. It will clear your head. It'll start getting those chemicals that are good for us in the brain. And hopefully that will become a habit. And then you can let some of the other bad habits go. Yeah.
Well, and doesn't singing with a group of people release those endorphins as well? It makes you feel, it just fills you with all kinds of good feelings. I've heard that, like whether it's in your church choir or whether you're in a play, a musical, or even just singing with along with the radio, I guess, but really with other people. I think it really does something for your brain, is what I've heard.
Not only have you heard it, it's the research. So if we have a trauma victim, such as maybe somebody that Tova's worked with, or somebody who comes to counseling services, we want them to get involved in some type of an activity. But they're not sure if it's the actual group that causes the healing effect or the actual singing. But I'm betting it's both.
I think so too. We're doing Newbern Civic Theater's been closed for a long time. We are doing Christmas Carol again this year, the musical version by Alan Menken, in partnership with Temple. And Temple's huge. It's the largest place to gather in Newbern. So the crowds can spread out socially. There's a huge stage. And I know that we're still looking for ensemble members. So if there's anybody that wants to sing, with other people in a setting like that, you should contact Keith Boyd and Meredith Boyd, or the directors, or New Bern Civic Theater. That is, I believe, the only opportunity for a community theater singing experience for the holiday season that I'm aware of. But it's early. It's still in the process of, we're casting people. So if you want to be part of an ensemble, there's lots of great singing parts in there. So anyway, if that is something you wanted to do, there are still opportunities to do that even in COVID.
So I don't write medicine prescriptions, but I'm going to write that out as a prescription for some of my clients who definitely should get involved in that. I think that's awesome. What a great way to end your show, right? With a bunch of things that are good for us and good for the community.
Because we have to keep those things in mind, don't we, Aimee? We have to keep in mind the things that help keep us, I'm going to say sane, even though it's not really what we mean, but keep us balanced and, find the silver linings in all this craziness that's happening right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to say I've been at least twice a week. I've been driving down the road, a couple roads down from me off of Washington Post Road. There's 2 pastures of cows, and Finn and I go on a car ride.
Just watching.
It's not even. Yeah, it's not even a mile, I don't think. And we pull over right next to where the cows are, and he just stares at them. And there's one that's just humongous. And I mean, I just get so much joy by watching him, watch the cows. So it kind of reminds me that old song. Who sang? I'm a girl watcher. The Ocasins or something from the 60s.
Yeah.
So he's a cow watcher. I know it's silly, but it's the simple things in life that really get you through some days when you just want to explode,
Mm-hmm.
But Aimee, it's always great seeing your face, and you want to stick around for the trivia answer?
I'm dying to know.
Okay.
So I've had one person post on my page, and I encourage Michelle Johnston to go post on your page, Wendy. I'll tell you what her answer was.
Okay,
are we ready for that? Are we ready for the?
Let me look here. Oh my gosh, I have an answer. Wow.
Aimee, do you know the answer? We'll start with you.
Okay,
I don't
the
know.
question is, I almost just said the answer. What head of state was a military truck driver and mechanic during World War II? Okay, anyone else want to guess on New Bern Now's Facebook page? Somebody did have the answer. So
Somebody got the right answer?
Yes.
Is it Michelle Johnson? Did she get the right answer?
Michelle Honeycutt Johnson, yes.
Wow, I thought that was a joke.
Oh, you saw it. You saw it.
I posted on my page. I told her to post it on yours to get for the answer, but I thought it was just being funny.
Well, Pat and Aimee, if you can't see the answer, what are your guesses?
I have none.
None?
No answer. No
I thought
guess.
maybe it's like a Kissinger or something. I thought, no, that can't be right.
Okay, this is a clue.
You're close. You're close.
The head of state for one major country, and Antigua and Barbuda, Australia, Bahamas, Belize, Canada, Grenada, Jamaica, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia,
Wales,
St. Vincent, and the Grenada Grenadines, and the Solomon Islands and Tuvalu. So what's the answer?
So it's a bit of an empire.
Yes.
What you say, Wendy? It's a wee bit of an empire.
Anybody? Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah. I mean, what? She drove a truck in World War II?
And she was a truck mechanic too.
Did she sneak out? Was it like a Aladdin situation where the princess sneaks out and goes and walks among the commoners for?
No, she was a member of the military. Isn't that awesome?
Amazing. Yeah, that's really cool.
And I saw that documentary. on PBS. I watched that. And I was you should see the pictures of her in her uniform next to when she was in service. It's amazing. I'm telling you, what a lady. What a lady.
She is. She truly is.
That's
She
fantastic.
has such a unique story. And I do have a joke. I have to pull it up. Somebody's calling me. Okay. All right. Okay. What kind of bird always forgets the words to songs? I
Hmm.
guess this. You guys, if I guessed it, I never guess jokes.
I'm terrible at dad jokes.
Yeah, right. I should be good at this.
George, you should definitely nail this. Pat,
A
Bird for-
mockingbird?
a what? What's that, Pat?
A mockingbird?
No, they
Mm,
forget the words to the songs.
Ah.
Hmm. Hmm.
mm.
A hummingbird?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, perfect.
I picked up that clue.
That's bad.
I was thinking, is there something called a forgetful bird that I've never heard of?
That's me. That's me. Oh, you guys are awesome. I really thank you, everyone, for joining us on social media. And somebody named Dare says hi. Hi,
Yes,
Dare. And
I know that bird.
Michelle, I'm hoping you heard, but you got the answer, so you can pick up your prize at Carolina Creations, and I'll private message you. And Arlene, she said hummingbirds. All right.
And Michelle Johnson is a singer, and she is involved in community theater in Carteret County. She went to West Carteret, which is where Darren and I went to high school. We were in high school together down there. So Michelle, yeah, very good. Good job.
Well, fun. Well, we'll have to have her on as a guest.
Yeah, there you go.
You guys can sing, so. Well,
She's a
thank
very
you.
good singer. She's a very good.
Thank you, Wendy.
So that I'll sing with her.
Okay.
I'll just hum. Can I just hum? I'll be the humming.
You can hum, and I'm gonna, before I tune up the music, Aimee, thank you for joining us, and
Thank you.
let's, if you wanna, okay, join us on October 22nd from 1 to 2, and tune in to WNOS, New Bern's News Talk radio station, every Wednesday at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. to listen to the rebroadcast of this show. And if you have any questions, send me an email at info@newbernnow.com. We'd love to hear any kind of fun stories or pictures that you'd like to share with us. And we hope you all have a great day. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Happy mental health.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
Yay.
hi, everybody. Thank you, Amy.
Bye.